Let's be honest. You can sit in front of a screen and play a video game for 3 hours without blinking. You can scroll through social media until your eyes burn. You do this without effort. You do not need willpower to watch Netflix. You do not need a motivational speech to eat processed sugar. You know exactly what you need to do in your life. The list is right there. The project is waiting. The goal is staring you in the face, but you are not doing it. Instead, you are cleaning your room. You are checking your email for the 10th time. You are organizing files that don't need organizing. You're scrolling through a feed of people living the life you want, while you sit there, paralyzed by a strange, invisible force field that keeps you from starting. You look at the high achievers, the athletes, the CEOs, the creators, and you think they are built from a different material than you. You think they have a gene for grinding that you simply missed. You convince yourself that they wake up excited to suffer while you wake up looking for the snooze button. But that is a lie. Your brain is a machine designed for efficiency, not greatness. For millions of years, the human organism had one primary directive: conserve energy. Energy meant life. Exerting unnecessary effort without an immediate guaranteed reward was a death sentence in the ancestral environment. If a caveman ran 10 miles for no reason, he didn't get a medal. He died of exhaustion. So when you sit down to do deep, difficult work that requires intense focus and offers a reward that is months or years away, your brain slams the brakes. It screams, "Stop! This is expensive. This is risky. There's no food here. Go back to the cave." It induces a feeling of psychological pain, a friction that feels almost physical, designed to make you stop burning glucose on abstract goals. You're trying to run a high-performance software on hardware built for the Stone Age. But here's the good news. The brain is neuroplastic. It can be rewired. You can hack the code. You can teach your brain to crave the difficulty the same way a gambler craves the spin. You can build an addiction to the climb. Today, we are going to look at the mechanics of motivation, why your dopamine receptors are lying to you, and how to build a psychological engine that makes hard work feel easier than doing nothing. To understand why you can't work, you have to understand the fuel your brain runs on, dopamine. But we need to correct a misunderstanding. Dopamine is not about pleasure. It is not the feeling of satisfaction you get after a good meal. Dopamine is about desire and anticipation. It is the molecule that pushes you to seek, to hunt, to move forward. It is the engine of agitation. In the 1950s, neuroscientists Olds and Milner proved this with a brutal experiment. They implanted electrodes into the reward centers of rats, specifically the nucleus accumbens. They gave the rats a lever. Every time the rat pressed the lever, it received a direct hit of dopamine. The rats did not just like it, they destroyed themselves for it. They stopped eating. They stopped sleeping. They ignored their mating partners. They pressed the lever thousands of times an hour until they collapsed from physical exhaustion. They chose the dopamine hit over their own existence. But here's the most important part of the study. When the researchers blocked the dopamine receptors, the rats didn't just stop pressing the lever. They stopped doing everything. If you put food right next to their mouth, they would not eat it. They enjoyed the food if you forced it into their mouth. The pleasure was still there, but they had zero motivation to move toward it. Without dopamine, there is no drive. In the natural world, dopamine was hard to get. You had to hunt, forage, or build to get a hit. The effort came before the reward. The cost was high, so the chemical was precious. Your baseline levels remained steady, spiking only when you achieved something real, But look at your life now. You live in a world of unearned dopamine. You have a supercomputer in your pocket that delivers distinct, high-voltage hits of reward with zero effort. A like, a notification, a 15-second video, sugar, caffeine, pornography, video games. You are pressing a button and receiving a biological payout that your ancestors would have worked weeks to achieve. You have flooded your receptors. You are drowning in cheap motivation. Psychologically, this creates a state known as reward devaluation. When your brain can get a massive spike of dopamine from swiping a finger, why would it authorize the massive caloric expenditure of writing a book or building a business? It wouldn't. It's bad math. The brain is an optimizing machine, and it has found a shortcut. Why climb the mountain for the view when you can look at a picture of the mountain on Instagram? The hard work feels impossible not because it is too hard, but because the alternative is too easy. You have trained your brain to expect the reward now, and the work never. You are like a lab rat that has found a lever for pure sugar. You have stopped eating real food because the chewing takes too much time. You have deconditioned yourself from the very process of effort. To fix this, you don't need more inspiration. You don't need a motivational speech. You need a detox. You need to raise the price of admission for your dopamine. You need to make the cheap hits expensive again. You need to reset your baseline so that the boring work starts to register as stimulating again. This brings us to the environment. If you rely on willpower to resist the distraction, you have already lost. Willpower is a battery, and it drains fast. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you burn a unit of mental energy. By midday, you're empty. The people you admire, the ones who seem to work 12 hours a day without blinking, are not using willpower. They are using a different system. They are engineers of friction. In physics, friction is the resistance that one surface or object encounters when moving over another. In psychology, friction is the effort required to execute a behavior. Your brain will always choose the path of least friction. It flows like water downhill. If your phone is on your desk, the friction to check it is near zero. Even if it is face down, your brain knows it is there. It is a constant low-level drain on your attention. If your tabs are open to social media, the friction is zero. If the hard work requires you to find a file, open a program, and clear your desk, the friction is high. You have created an environment where the bad habit is frictionless, and the good habit is an obstacle course. You need to invert this equation. You must become the designer of your own trap. You need to make the bad habits painful to access. Put the phone in another room. Lock it in a drawer. Use a website blocker that you cannot disable. Unplug the TV. Make the distraction require a walk, a password, or a wait. Make it so annoying to get the cheap dopamine that your brain decides it isn't worth the effort. Simultaneously, you must grease the slide for the hard work. This is what we call the 20-second rule. If you can lower the time it takes to start the work by just 20 seconds, you dramatically increase the odds of doing it. Leave the document open on your screen before you go to sleep. Have your gym clothes laid out on the floor. Have the notebook open and the pen uncapped. You're not trusting your future self to make the right choice. You're assuming your future self is lazy and weak, and you're designing a system that forces them to be productive. You are removing the option to fail. You're making the hard thing the easy thing. Now we get to the core mechanism. How to actually enjoy the grind. This sounds like masochism, but it is actually a known psychological phenomenon called learned industriousness. Most people wait to feel good before they work. This is the mood-first fallacy. You think, I need to feel inspired to write. I need to feel energetic to train. You treat your emotions like the weather report, waiting for a sunny day to leave the house. But the biology works in reverse. Action generates momentum. Emotion follows motion. When you engage in high-effort tasks, your body releases a cocktail of neurochemicals, norepinephrine for focus, endorphins for pain management, and eventually, dopamine. But this only happens after the struggle begins. You have to pay the entrance fee. Recent neuroscience has pointed to a specific area of the brain called the anterior midcingulate cortex. This region is linked to willpower and the will to live. Studies show that when you do things you do not want to do, this area of the brain grows. It physically gets larger. But if you only do things you enjoy, it shrinks. This is the seat of your resilience. You can train your brain to associate the feeling of strain, the mental fatigue, the burning muscles, the frustration of learning, with the impending reward. Think about the runner's high. The runners in physical distress. Their lungs are burning. Their legs are heavy. Every signal from the body says stop, but they feel euphoric. Why? Because the brain has learned that this specific type of pain is the precursor to a massive reward. They have recoded the signal. Pain no longer means damage. It means progress. You must do the same for your mental work. When you feel that tightness in your chest, that urge to quit, that fog of boredom, you must cognitively reframe it. Do not tell yourself, "This is hard, I hate this." Tell yourself, "This is the friction. This is the feeling of my neural pathways being rewritten. This is the price of the upgrade." You stop running from the discomfort and start chasing it because you know that the discomfort is the only place where the growth lives. You become a hunter of difficulty. You start to get suspicious when things feel too easy. There is a specific zone of operation where the pain disappears completely. You have likely felt it before. You are working on something and suddenly you look up and 3 hours have passed in 3 minutes. You forgot to eat. You forgot to check your phone. You were purely locked in. Psychologists call this flow. In this state, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-monitoring, doubt, and the inner critic, temporarily shuts down. You are no longer thinking about the work. You are simply doing it. It is the closest human beings get to merging with their action. It is a state of total immersion where the self vanishes. But a flow is not random. It is not a lightning strike you have to wait for. It is a biological state that you can trigger, and it requires 3 specific conditions. 1. Clear goals. You must know exactly what you are doing in the next 5 minutes. Vagueness kills flow. If you sit down and say, "I need to work on my business," your brain panics because the task is too big. But if you say, "I need to write the first paragraph of the sales letter," that is a clear directive. Your brain can lock onto that. 2. Immediate feedback. You need to see the result of your action. This is why video games are so addictive. You press a button and you see the explosion. In work, you must create this loop. Check off the box. Delete the email you just answered. See the code compile. You need a signal that says you are moving forward. 3. The challenge-skill ratio. The task must be hard enough to demand your full attention, but not so hard that you feel helpless. If it's too easy, you get bored. If it's too hard, you get anxious. You need to find the Goldilocks zone of difficulty where you are stretched just beyond your current capacity. Most people destroy flow by multitasking. They try to write while listening to a podcast and checking Slack. This is cognitive suicide. It creates context switching, where your brain has to constantly upload and unload different tasks. You are not multitasking. You are just doing two things badly. To enter flow, you must protect your attention, like it is a fortress. When you learn to engineer these conditions, work stops being a chore and starts being a refuge. It becomes a place where the noise of the world falls away, and you are just pure capacity in motion. Finally, we must address the deepest level of the machine, your identity. As long as you see yourself as a lazy person trying to work hard, you will always fail. Because your behavior is dragging your identity like a heavy weight. You are acting in conflict with who you believe you are. This creates cognitive dissonance, a psychological tension that your brain hates. Eventually, your brain will sabotage your hard work just to align your actions with your self-image. Behavioral psychology tells us that the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as someone who loves to sleep in, waking up at 5 in the morning will always feel like a lie. If you define yourself as a procrastinator, finishing a project early feels wrong. You need to kill the old avatar. You're not trying to be a writer. You are a writer. And what does a writer do? They write every day, regardless of how they feel. You're not trying to get fit. You are an athlete. And an athlete does not miss training because it is raining. An athlete trains because it is raining. This is not fake it till you make it. This is evidence-based identity. You cannot just say the words. You have to provide the proof. Every time you sit down and do the work, you are casting a vote for this new person. You are proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. The first time you choose the work over the cheap dopamine, it is an exception. The 10th time, it is a routine. The 100th time, it is who you are. The imposter syndrome fades, not because you gave yourself a pep talk, but because you have a stack of evidence that is undeniable. The world is filled with people who are waiting for a miracle. They are waiting for the day they wake up and feel like it. They are waiting for the stars to align, for the mood to be right, for the motivation to strike them like lightning. That day is not coming. The resistance you feel is not going to go away. The distraction is not going to disappear. The biology is not going to change. The world will always offer you a cheaper, easier path, but you can change. You can stop listening to the primitive voice in your brain that begs for the easy path. You can realize that the easy path leads to a hard life, a life of regret, of potential that was never realized, of looking in the mirror and knowing you left it all on the table. The hard path, the path of friction, of focus, of denying the immediate urge for the greater reward, that leads to a life of command. A life where you are the master of your own attention, not a slave to an algorithm or a chemical impulse. A life where you look back and see a mountain of work that you built. So do not wait for the work to feel good. Do not wait for the addiction to happen by magic. Sit down, remove the noise, embrace the friction, and do the thing. Then do it again and again, until the effort becomes your home, until the hard work becomes the only thing that makes you feel alive. If this analysis helped you see your own mind more clearly, hit the like button so this signal can find other people who are ready to wake up. And if you want to understand the deeper programming that runs your life, subscribe. And remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Choose your heavy.